Hello, ladies, and welcome back. We are in our final block of time here of this incredible weekend that I can speak for myself has been so incredibly nourishing and so beautiful, and have felt so filled up by all of the contributions from the guest speakers, but also equally by each one of your presence, ladies who have joined. Your presence really, wow, makes everything, makes all the difference to feel witnessed by you and to witness you in your constant evolution and becoming as we learn and grow together. That to me is the definition of true sisterhood. So I want to say thank you for coming back to be with us as we prepare for some time with one of my dearest sisters and teachers. One of my favorite things in life actually is being able to call my dearest sisters my teachers for a variety of reasons. But in this case, actually, she is a teacher. She's a metaphorical and physical teacher. She runs a beautiful school called the Academy of Oracle Arts, and really deeply, again, in terms of devotion and study, this woman is an encyclopedia, and she's also would share, and I'm sure she will, but that she is a humble student and always will be. And again, it's that combination of the humility and also honoring mastery. I will say that about her, this level of mastery that she holds, to facilitate, to weave together these ancient technologies of Egyptian cosmology and the tree of life, and this Kabbalah wisdom that is like, again, if you study, is literally get through is dense, right? But somehow she makes it so so digestible. We've been talking a lot about digestion with Ayurveda and Tantra, so a way to digest it and to, again, utilize it so that it is helpful. And when you hear me say that prayer, I often credit you, Isis, for that prayer of, may this be helpful, useful, beneficial to the web of life, so this is not, all this work is not just to fluff ourselves, although again, we like to fluff ourselves. It is in service, as we were sharing, as beautiful, our sister Cosmica was sharing, of like that queenly energy that is deeply in service, and this is who Isis is to me. She's a queen who's deeply, deeply, deeply in service. So thank you for inspiring me, sister. And before I pass to you, actually, I would love to, I'm just going to read this. This is a prayer that actually comes from a book, and it's here written down on my, it's actually a book entitled It's Not Your Money, which is an interesting, but it's this woman, Tasha Blank, who's a spiritual teacher. And she basically, her whole book is about how it's not your money, it's God's money. And this particular prayer around the ability to give fully, like give completely and fully of yourself, but also then to receive fully, is so powerful. And I read it every morning, and I wanted to share it with you all. So it says, Divine Beloved, allow me to give with complete ease and abundance, knowing that you are the unlimited source of all. Let me be an easy, open conduit for your prosperity. Let me trust that all of my own needs are always met in amazing ways, and that it's safe to give freely as my heart guides. And equally, let me feel wildly open to receiving. May I know my own worth, beauty, and value without question. Let me allow others the supreme pleasure of giving to me. May I feel worthy to receive in every possible way. Change me into one who can fully love, forgive, and accept myself, so that I may carry your light without restriction. Let everything that needs to go, go, and let everything that needs to come, come. I am utterly your own. You are me, I am you, we are one. All is well. Ah, thank you. I needed to read that for my own heart, and I'm really happy that it resonates with each one of you ladies. And again, Isis to me is just such a walking embodiment of prosperity and the amount to which she gives, and also, is along with us in the path of learning to receive. And I always am this person for Isis. I'm like, girl, we're gonna nourish you. We're gonna take care of you. We're gonna rest. And oh, I'm forever wanting to transport you and me to a spa, girl. I'm not gonna take her and take care of my girl. Oh, I love you so much. Oh, I have a hand raise here. Oh, is this an unnamed Jeanette? No picture. Did you want to go ahead and share, sister? This is one of the jokes we've been sharing. So my VA's name is Jeanette, and she created this link, and anyone who logs in with her link comes up as Jeanette. So we all weekend we're all Jeanettes. So we've just figured out how to rename. I think everyone on here has renamed yourself, but there's the Jeanette here, which I'm pretty sure is not the actual Jeanette. It's like Mystery Jeanette with her hand up. But all right, nobody's coming on to share with Mystery Jeanette, so I'm gonna remute you. And we will begin. Isis, do you feel too? I was also sharing, I've been introducing the women as my sisters in my personal love notes of edification, but I'm really leaving it up to you for what you want to share more from like a professional CV version. So however you'd like to introduce yourself, I'd love to welcome you here, my beautiful sister.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say, greetings and gratitudes, everyone. I'm coming from the ancestral homelands of the Nisenan people, and this area is called Ulicha, also known as Nevada City, California. I just want to acknowledge all the ancestral homelands that all of you are where you are, and also to just feeling this really incredible alignment with Peru and how that you're tending to all of this from that holy place of Peru. I have a deeper care and love for Peru. So and I got an email from the Caro Foundation today, and I thought right before this call, and I was like, how perfect the Caro Foundation would email me right before this. And so just thinking about too the Caros Quechua people over there. And I just want to say thank you, Maria, for I've just been in awe of you and how you have been tending and facilitating and caring for this really important current that is your vision, and how we get to be part of this vision that feels really like a key to the future of life, really, a culture of nourishment and, a culture of belonging and a culture of nourishment. And so just thank you for who you are and how you feel things and attune to things and attune to consciousness and what's useful and what's helpful. And I see you very much as like a pioneer. It's almost like I feel that you call forward the future that we want to live, exist, and experience as a way of life. So I just love you so much. I'm really honored to be here with like nourishing to my spirit, just to sit in here with each and every one of you. So thank you. Yeah. My name is Isis Indriya. I'm born in Mesa, Arizona, raised on the island of Guam. I come on behalf of Micronesia people. We're called Chamorro people, and we are very much, or my particular family lines are ones that like really learn a lot about the medicines, the medicines of the jungle, and also are devoted to really learning and listening to the unseen benevolent forces that are invisible. And so a lot of my learning growing up and my learning today and my continual learning my entire life is ultimately how to listen and how to pay attention and strengthen my relationships with the intelligence of the human and more than human realms, the natural realm and the divine realms, and how to attune to how we co-shape together and how to consciously do so. So that's a lot of what I'm always learning about. And I'm a deep, devoted student to Kemet, to ancient Egypt. For so long, I'd be with my dad. I'd be like, Dad, like, why do I love Egypt so much? It's nowhere in our bloodlines. Like, am I in trouble? Because we're very much about our culture and our ancestry, and like, am I in trouble for like loving Egypt so much? And he's like, no, I feel it too. Like, I don't know, I feel it too. And so I've always just my whole life been very interested and into it, and have been going regularly since Maria and I got to be together with Ayla. I was just Ayla and my son Orion got to be in the Great Pyramid together, and I just forever will carry that in my memory palace. And, with that, I did end up finding a little micro moment in my bloodlines of Egypt. And I, feel like we all have that. Like somewhere we all have a relationship with Kemet in ancient Egypt. So, I study that a lot, and I'm very much into the mysteries teachings, the mystery teaching studies, because I do feel like what has lasted through the ages and the rise and fall of humanity are the mystery teachings. As we evolve and as we transform and transmute, they're very current and adaptable to the changing times. And I feel like that's a lot about what is now, this art form of being adaptable, like maintaining this kind of attunement to an equilibrium state of consciousness, like how to be
Praticamente sono a chi viene dalla cellulite.
in an equal state, a balanced state amongst like the tides and turns and ups and downs and ins and outs and forwards and backwards and inside outs. The only way out is through, and the only way through is in, and we go all the way in and we just keep going. And somehow through going all the way in, how to be the eye in the storm, and how to be a pillar in the storm, even in our own destruction and rebuilding processes, and how to have each other when one of us needs to fully just dissolve, and then we have our current together like this to help each other through it. It's like the most valuable treasure, life. And in this time, how to adapt to the changing times, it's like something that we always am learning about, is we don't really know. The only thing that is actually certain is death, and we don't know when that's going to happen, but it's the only thing that is certain. And we're at this time where a lot of our elders and prophecy carriers talk about, we're at a time where all the prophecies are right now. We chose to be born for this time, and so here we are, building a relationship with timelessness and this unknown dynamic with the great mystery of what is actually going to happen, and how to be an eye in the storm, in our own storms, how to nourish ourselves and be a culture of nourishment for others in our profoundly deep transformation. We're all having them all the time. It's like we go through one shed and then we start another. We're like either at the beginning of the shed, the middle of the shed, or the end. And then right when we're getting through the last part, we begin another one. And it's just like this constant, like, evolutionary process of transformation. In the ancient Kemetic Egyptian tradition, they say that we chose to be born here at this time for the purpose of transformation. And in the purpose of transformation, whether it's our own life, our ancestors, our bloodlines, or, a life 10,000 years ago, we come here to bring all parts of ourselves into wholeness again, and assist in the humanity's journey of bringing things back into wholeness again, into well-nourished consciousness that then assists in the evolutionary process for our children and our children's children and children's children moving forward. How to always be in deeply inside of the transformational process and the unification of all of the parts of ourselves or our ancestors or 10,000 years ago into wholeness again, on behalf of the entire culture and consciousness of nourishment. We become good food for creation moving forward. And a lot of the ancient Egyptian tradition, they talk a lot about being nourishment for others. And how, Maria, we talk a lot about this, like how to nourish and tend to ourselves so that we can actually be good food, and our words can be good food and our actions can be good food, and the way that we tend to our altar of our body, that then tends to the web of life, and how interdependent it all really is. Never, I love this quote by Margaret Mead: never underestimate that a small group of caring individuals can change the world. In fact, is the only thing that ever has. And so it's like every small micro moment of care on the inside is an act, a loving act into the web. I'm always learning about this. how to care about the thoughts that travel through my mind, and how to care about the way that the breath of life helps me experience life, and how to care about the trillions of interdependent beings that are working for me to be a spirit and a body. And like how to care about the way that they're all working for me when I'm sleeping. And like that, like relationship with self-care of the interdependent conversation and communication. And it's like all these trillions of beings, like somehow tending to the interior ecosystem, so we can like look through our eyes, and eyes that are have like a film of water, where he's looking through water, how we can look through the water and experience this place that is the creation process of creation creating itself with us and through us and for us in this web of life that we are interdependent in, And so how to attune to the interior web of life that then influences as within, so without. We've all heard this phrase, as within, so without. How to tend to the interior web of life and nourish everything that's nourishing us on the inside to be a spirit and a body. And then in that way, attune to the culture and consciousness of nourishment that becomes the web itself. It's like so fascinating, absolutely psychedelic, and very holographic. Wayne Dyer too, like some of these quotes are like my favorite quotes. I absolutely am constantly learning from them. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's like, that's like a mantra for me, because learning how to care and attune to the thoughts that are the nourishment that nourishes my interior temple, that then nourishes how I see things. Learning how to care about it, and like notice the art of noticing all of these conversations that are happening on the inside that influence my perception, that influence how I tend to life in general. It's like always a journey, and one thing I really love about the spirit of this journey we are on here together, I really believe, the vision of Nectar is like a prayer that is feeding into the web of life consistently, like how to become nectar and become well-nourished consciousness, culture, and self and consciousness. I believe that this is like kind of like an offering into the water that's going to keep rippling for a very long time, consistently. It feels that way. And in this like consciousness around nectar, I was, I spent a lot of time in the ancient Kemetic tradition. And like I could nerd on it forever. And every year I pull a particular neteru, which is a divine principle of creation. And every year I pull one to be my teacher. And this year I pulled one called Kekiyu. And Kekiyu is a frog. It's a frog being, that carries a cup of soma, of elixir, of nectar. And this frog being carries this cup of nectar and feeds this nectar to all of the gods, goddesses, and creation beings. Gives the nectar to all of the ones that assist, all the holy ones that assist us living and being in the world, so that they all feel nourished by this nectar and this elixir to then assist their materialization within us and through us. And it's such a unique approach to considering what our vessels could be for. In a lot of the older traditions, they say, our body is a divine house. We hear of the body temple. And, the body is a temple. The body is a divine house. It's a vessel. It's a house for the non-human or more than human benevolent forces to work through us and materialize and help us shape the world. It's a beautiful idea, if we think about it in the realm of like, even at the very minute, like the spirit of the water, or the spirit of the fire, the spirit of the air, the spirit of the earth, or the many living beings of the earth. We even like thought about it in that way, that they say that the primary, like a great accomplishment, the most valuable human accomplishment is to become a vehicle for these benevolent, loving, more than human forces to materialize and work through us and with us. And that's like the main accomplishment, to like clear the vessel, clean the vessel, that, you know, purification rites in the morning, then like the second breakfast purification, and then like lunch purification, and then like washing the dishes purification, and then like purification all day to like keep cleansing the vessel of the mind, the heart, the body, and the spirit, to be an instrument for these cosmic and terrestrial loving forces to work through us as a vehicle, so that we're consciously and coherently co-shaping together. It's not just humans. It turns out it's not just humans also. So it's also just remembering that it's not just human, you know, and then how to co-shape together on behalf of nourishment, nectar, to live in the web of life that is nectar, that it becomes good food, good nourishment, and offering for all life moving forward. It's this beautiful mythological landscape of creativity, because then we're like engaging with a sensual, intimate relationship with creation always. Like it's intimate, you know, we think about like if we're talking and communing with the sacred in any way, shape, or form, it's so intimate. There's like a subtlety and like an attunement to the conversation in the silence of like this intimate place where we all of our senses are turned on, and we're like available to listen and pay attention, and then notice how the spirit, or the holy feminine spirit, is wanting to talk to us and show us things, you know. And in the Kemetic tradition, they talk a lot about the consciousness of offering, and how to make of our life an offering where we become nourishment and food for everything. And in that idea of, you know, offering, the oracle once told me, or said, spoke through me, the consciousness of offering is the antidote to the extractive mind. And I was just like, wait, what? You know, and is that the consciousness of offering is the antidote to the extractive mind. And I was like, wow. I'm still wow. I was like, wait, what? Wow. And I attuned to like all of these really sophisticated indigenous communities and cultures that really have a deep relationship of what it means to offer as a way of life, and how to feed and nourish the living life force of creation in so many forms, and how to feed the fire and feed the water and feed the poles that like the earth is spinning in. Like one of my elders talks about that the poles, the north and the south, are twin brothers. And when they make offerings, they feed these poles so the earth can continue to move on the axis in a harmonic way. And that every time we make an offering, that one of my elders, Hector, says, you know, every time we make an offering into the interdependent web of life, that offering goes into this braid of prayers that travels between the north and the south, and it feeds the twins in the north and the south, and it feeds the entire web of life. You know, and when I tune to even that way of attuning to anything, to things, to life, I'm like, oh wow, that is like, nourishment is just everything. Nourishment is everything. When we're well nourished, we become nourishment, and then we can attune to nourishing something larger that's nourishing us, you know, like it's this interdependent conversation of nourishment. Because like if I'm not well nourished, then I may not be available to see that the soil isn't necessarily a black fertile soil to receive the seed for life to grow, because I'd be able to see that. But then if I like put my hands in the soil and I start to drop into what like interior nourishment could be, I start to care about that more. And then as I care about that more, I start to want to tend to it more. And then as I tend to that more, and I, put the seed in my mouth, it then receives the water from my own saliva that then plant it in the soil. And then that plant grows to support my immune system. We build a relationship with it. And then I'm even nourished even more than my availability to like hear how how I can serve the earth and serve the cosmos grows. And then I'm like, oh, the nourishment of all of life, of me, and all of life it's everything. It's all nourishment. And a lot of the ancient Kemetic tradition, they're like, alchemy. I love the divine feminine alchemy that you is part of how you attune to this whole weekend. Alchemy is, in the Kemetic tradition, is a combination of Arabic and ancient Egyptian. The chem in alchemy, the chem, is the black fertile soil, like black, rich, nourishing, fertile soil. And the al comes from Arabic, and that's the process. So alchemy is very much about being like the nourishment of the black fertile soil that is what creates nourishment of all kinds in relationship with the water. So lately I've been like, not only like paying attention to the soil in our compost pile and offering my grief to the soil. Anytime I have an immense amount of grief, because this is the time of a lot of grieving, and I just want to honor any of our grief that we have had and that we carry ever in our lives. Like the value and the treasure of grief. In the ancient Kemetic tradition, like lamentation rites and grief rituals are crucial to then support a well-nourished system to be able to serve the web of life. It's like completely interdependent, because we want to feel what's going on in the world. That's to be able to like face the intensity of the world is like part of what we need to do from a well-nourished place. And grieving is a key to like helping in the collective consciousness transformation. It's key. And so with the compost, or maybe I'm at someone's house and they don't have compost and I put it in the trash, I still like put the shavings of the vegetables into the trash or into my pile with my grief. And I say, thank you for all of the grief that I feel for A, B, C, and D. And I like list it out and I give it back to the earth. Like, and the Egyptian Kemetic being her name is Nebetet. And I say, Nebetet, I just want to say thank you. Please take this grief and help compost it into the soil to make new life. May my grief be received. Just like I came on this call, and your tears, to me, like tears are the most treasured offering we could ever give, are our tears. Like the holy water spirit is like running through us and like getting new oxygen and like receiving, as it's like letting go, it's receiving new life with oxygen. It's like every time with our tears, it's like, in the Kemetic tradition, that is what helps the transformation of whatever needs to be transformed, the alchemical process that assists the alchemical process to make the good soil for nourishing food, nourishing life moving forward. So bless all of our grief and our tears at this time, on behalf of like, because part of it, they believe that when we do grieve and we do offer our tears and our memories and our experiences out, and it comes out of the body and it gets new life, it's part of repair and reparations and restoration and renewal and rebirth and regeneration and revivification, all the re's and the journey of remembrance. That like tears assist in the restoration of the separated parts of self or separated parts of consciousness to come back into wholeness again. And it's like sometimes when we grieve, we are attuned to this dynamic in the world that needs restoration and repair and regeneration, rebirth, to revive, restore, remember, and relive a feeling of nectar and nourishment in life again. To then meet the world. It's like we need this. It's like part of how we meet the world and meet our heartbreaking open moments. How we have a heartbreak and how our heart breaks open even more. And like how to tend to that is part of our work here. So I want to honor all of our heartbreaks and our breaks that have opened us too, that is part of like our interdependent dynamic between people and situations, and then also in the fabric of life. Because like it's like every process of transformation that we each experience is an offering into the web. It's like part of the repair. There's this really beautiful, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to look into Indra's net, wow, please look it up. Indra's net. In this idea of Indra's net, I love it. I live by this. Each and every one of us are a multifaceted jewel. We are all, it's not a two-way mirror. It's beyond that. It's more than that. We're multifaceted, And so the mirroring happens in like a lot of different directions. Like, somebody's like seeing this behind my back that I can't see, and then somebody's seeing over here, and then somebody's seeing up there, and then below me, and then in me. We're multifaceted jewels. And that part of our relations with each other is to help polish each other. We're like, even right now, us together in this current, together right now, there's a polishing process that we're sharing together. Whether we are on the camera or not, it's just the nature of the current. And so then we're in this circle here of all multifaceted jewels that are by the very agreement to sit here, regardless if we agree with what we're talking about or not. The agreement to sit here is a polishing process. And in the polishing process, we help shine each other up, and then we, buff here and there. And, even in like the moment of the trigger, there's a shining over there in that moment, and that one over there. And then in that way, we are assisting in our radiance. One of the key aspects of this weekend together is around our radiance. And like through each and every one of us being multifaceted jewels and polishing each other and supporting each other that way, we help each other shine more. And in that process, in the Indra's net, they say, in every jewel, in every facet of each jewel, you in the shining and the polishing, you can look into it and see the entire web of all the jewels. And so it's this holographic process where, like, by the nature of us being together, shining each other, we help to shine the web itself by our commitment to doing it, even if we don't agree with anything we're talking about. Agreeing even to not agree is a polishing process. And then that assists in the polishing of consciousness. And it's so beautiful. Whether it's true or not, it's a mythological landscape that feels like there's an essence to it that feels like it works, it's happening, it does something. Like these moments that we share together that send a ripple far beyond what we could ever even see or know. Like trusting in every moment that we like light that incense or light that cedar, that is sending a ripple far beyond what we could ever see. There's a supporting and the mutual shining and polishing and radiance of the net of jewels of consciousness. And this like trust and belief in that as like a pillar of value, so that every moment, every thought that we tend to and we care about inside of ourselves, or every time we utilize like what they call the divine utterance of the breath of life, that's our voice, every ritual gesture, every way we use our hands, every way we wash the dishes, every way that we cook, every way that we sweep, every way that even when we're driving, like how we're driving and like what we're tuning to while we're driving, all of these moments of deeper relationship and communion with the sacred in everything we're doing always sends a ripple far beyond what we could ever see. It's an act of service in everything, and it's so beautiful because part of it, part of it is like strengthening our vehicles and vessels to be like a home place for grace and to move through us. When I feel into like nourishment, I feel into nectar, I feel into divine feminine alchemy, I feel grace. And like how grace moves through the body. And then even that dynamic when we're like digesting food or our nervous systems are wishing for some lavender right at this moment, how to like allow the grace of the memory of lavender fields to kind of like travel through us. Because we know what lavender smells like. We remember the lavender fields. We know what lavender feels like, and how like the memory palace of all of these moments in the world and in consciousness we can draw upon to help that grace travel through us, nourish us, our hearts, our minds, our bodies, and our spirits all the time, always, whenever, so that we can be a steward for grace and nourishment to feed culture, feed consciousness, feed everybody and everything, always. And in these older traditions, they talk about this as being a spirit and a body. We are always in communion with the sacred. And like this idea of living a sacred way of life is this relationship of what it means to be in communion with the sacred always. Like it never turns off. It's always on. And there's a responsibility too that comes with that, like how, like what it feels like in the remembrance. Because it's also too, they always say in the older traditions that we're just remembering. We've already done all this. We're just remembering how we did it. And then our ability to stay present and attuned and hear in this timeless web of like ancestral healing happening at the same time as a vision for the future in the now, like being here while all of this is happening and attuning is the communion with the sacred always, and how to live with that and be with that and live inside of it. And then the responsibility of this remembrance of we are a divine house, back to the beginning of this conversation, where like we are a divine house that isn't in the work of purification, purifying the vessel consistently, whether it's like colonics or frankincense or like a full power yogic study, or like a cleanse or lay upon the earth, or washing our hands and washing the dishes. The process of purification, purifying the vessel, not only like cleans up something that maybe happened 5 minutes ago, but it might also clear out something that happened 10,000 years ago. 5 minutes, 10,000 years, what's the difference? We're clearing consistently to not only like take care of what needs to, because we part of it is like taking care of ourselves and our memories and our experiences and our journey on the inside that helps us in the outside clear up, but also helps us remember, realign, reattune to our purpose, our vocation, and our divine directive, why we're here, the constant purification. And then that like realignment, recommitment, they also say that purification is a process of recommitment, because the remembrance and the ability and the time it takes to purify, whether it's like 3 seconds or like a full on 11-day cleanse, But the commitment to purification by nature is a recommitment to our purpose. And then when we recommit to our purpose in this process of purification, then our divine houses, our bodies become not only a remembrance of it being a divine temple, but it becomes an instrument and a vehicle for cosmic forces and more than human benevolent relationships to move through us. As you know, we hear about like we're divine beings, you know, like awakening our divine human nature. The way that ancient Egyptians Kemetics refer to this is that our divine house, when we cleanse and purify it on the regular, and we nourish ourselves in a profound way, then the cosmic forces and the more than human benevolent relationships are like, okay, cool, I can like help now. It's like there's room to get in to work inside of us and through us. Because if we don't take care of ourselves on the inside, I'm always remembering this. Like Maria's always helping me remember this. It's like, this is why we need each other, help each other remember these things. It's like, then like, it's like, if I'm, you know, it's not hard to like work with me or through me. There's a grace and an elegance that these divine forces, divine nature, that is who we are, and divine intelligence, these pathways in consciousness can open up and start to materialize and work with us and through us. Then we're not like doing it all by ourselves, because it turns out we aren't anyways, you know? And so it's just like attuning to what is co-shaping with us. And a nourished heart, mind, body, and spirit fortifies us to be able to attune and pay attention to that. You know, a lot of the older traditions, they talk about like the art of paying attention, the art of listening, the art of nosing, and like paying attention to everything, paying attention to everything on the inside, paying attention to the moment that person texted, paying attention to the moment that the bird flew by, what bird that was, paying attention to the moment when the wind picked up, paying attention to like the knock on the door, paying attention to everything. Because in this idea of paying attention to everything, the great mystery, the holy divine feminine spirit, the holy feminine spirit is communicating and talking through everything. And like the more we strengthen ourselves in our natural state of being in living in communion with the sacred always, that's natural to us. Purification is to clear off what's unnatural, any programs that like are not who we are anyways. You know, a classic program is like, you know, with women is like competition. Our nature is never to compete. Our nature is to collaborate. It is who we are. And like, so the purification is to like clear out those programs that don't belong to us. You know, it's like, thank you for the teachings. Our work is done here. Please return back to the light with love. You know, our work is done here. When doubt comes in, I listen to why doubt came in, and I'm like, okay, I take time with doubt. And I'm like, once I feel like I, at that moment, receive the teaching that I need to for that moment, I say, thank you for your teaching right now. I'm now inviting you to go back to the light. Thank you. Our work is done here. So it's like constant process of purifying so that the vehicle, the body, A, we can notice how to nourish ourselves because we're more available for it. And then B, we then nourish ourselves. And then C, we strengthen the divine house to be an instrument and a vehicle for the co-shaping of the cosmic divine realms and the terrestrial life force energy to collaborate through us. And then more stuff gets done. It's this fascinating thing. The art of doing nothing, but everything gets done. More happens through us because things start to come into alignment. It's like fascinating. We all know this. We've all felt this. When things come into alignment, it's like ding, 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 ding. And it's all just like, we're like, all right, okay, you know. And oftentimes the process of cleansing, purification, which is absolutely necessary, all the masters of the world, like cleansing and purification is normal. This is like part of life. This is like what we do. And we do like daily ones, and then we do full on 2-week ones, and then we do, you know, all of them. It's part of it, because we're in this time where there's all kinds of dynamics occurring in the earth, especially now. The process of cleansing is in purifying is part of it. Because there's a trillions of interdependent beings working for us to be a spirit and a body. So it's part of the way of like nourishing them. All of these amazing beings working for us to be in a body, our organs, our cells, our bloodlines and our ancestors that are in the blood with the holy water spirit. Like, whoa. And then the glands in the brain sending messages to the body, the bones, like the stories of our bones, and then our muscles that are like, I mean, it's just like incredible what is going on in the body. Like, wow, like what a profoundly wild interdependent web of relationships in here, you know? And then even too with our bloodlines, you know, it's like most of us, I would say 99.9% of people in the world carry the colonizer and the oppressed in the blood. The stories of our ancestors are intense. You know, I don't think I've ever met anybody who doesn't have really intense ancestral stories. And part of it is like when we're like cleaning ourselves, at least what I'm learning, all I can do is share what I'm learning, whether hopefully any of this is helpful or lands in any way, shape, or form. It's something I'm learning about. So more I like cleanse, purify myself, tend to the nourishment of my body, the healing that needs to happen in my bloodlines and ancestry is available for healing. And then when I come into contact with somebody that also has that too, oftentimes conflict is related to ancestral healing dynamics at play. You know, sometimes we have a conflict with a person, we really think what the conflict's about. We're like, this is so crazy. Like, what is this really about? Not always, but sometimes. What is this really about? And then we think about like, you know, what happened in our lives and the really intense things that happened in our own personal lives where it comes up with each other. And then we're like, think about the bloodlines too. They're traveling through us. It's like, oh wow, like, wait, where are you from again? Like, what are your bloodlines? And then like generally when we learn about the bloodlines or even our own, whether or not that's our spiritual tradition that we carry, but we connect to it, we're like, okay, there's healing here now between our bloodlines. And the restoration and the repair of this moment right now, this conflict turning into harmony and resolution and adaptability, it's feeding ancestral healing in the past and clearing up things now so it doesn't get passed in the future. All within like an instant of time, a timeless things that happen in according of time. How much can happen in like a 20-minute moment of healing? And then the nourishment travels into the body, it travels to the bloodlines, it travels to our ancestors, and then it tends to weaving a web of nourishment for all life moving forward. It's like, wow, it's profound. And it's happening a lot quicker now because of our commitment together of our growth. It's like the fact that we're even here together committing to grow or like listen and be a part of this multifaceted jewel dynamic, great healing happens here. You know, even sometimes sitting in silence in a circle. In the ancient Egyptian tradition, they say that we have this divine double. And it's like they say, we're all twins. We all are born twins. And and then twins also have a twin. And that when we're born, we choose to be a spirit and a body. We come here for a reason and a purpose. The primary purpose be for transformation, healing, repair, restoration of all parts of self that have been separated or humanity back into wholeness again. As the primary function of why we chose to be born. We also have a divine double. Some call it our highest self, some call it our holy guardian angels, some call it our Ba or our Ka. And then when we come into a current together, our like Ka bodies work together and they repair. And we can't see them, they're invisible, but they're like tending to things that we can't see. but we can feel. And it's just like happening. And then all of a sudden we're like here, and felt a weaving of like the grandmother's hands, our grandmother's hands, of the grandmothers of the star nations, weaving in the web of life and tending to any fissures or fractures or tangles, and just untangling, repairing, weaving in the web of life, a culture, a consciousness of nourishment that happens just by the fact that we're sitting here. It's fascinating. And this idea of like, through the purification and the cleansing, strengthening and fortifying of our hearts, our minds, our bodies, our spirits, our cleansing, our digestion, our care of our thoughts, our care of everything inside the body, how to tend to our muscles and our bones. And we then there's this dynamic where, we cleanse, and then we attune to our purpose, why we're here, for the purpose of transformation and to repair separated parts of consciousness back into wholeness again. And then this like specific way that we each do that, we're all like permutations or threads from the one, diverse in our, what unifies us is our diversity. We're all permutations of the one. We come here to do the work of transformation, and we have a particular thread on how we do that, that's nuanced, that's specific to our journey of becoming. And then in the fabric and the way that we do that helps repair the whole web. And so there's like vocation, like our job, and then there's like purpose, and then there's divine directive. And there's these really unique approaches to how related they all three are, and then how nuanced it is to consider them in different ways. So like the consideration of a vocation, our job, maybe our certification, and then the consideration of our purpose, like what our spirit or what like we really feel in our hearts is like. Usually what we really feel in our hearts is something around serving transformation in some form. Service and transformation is natural to us. And then the divine directive piece, and this is something that Maria, we have talked a lot about, this idea of divine directive, is through the conscious like cleansing, purification, fortifying, nourishing the body. And when I say cleansing, I don't mean necessarily doing like a cleanse of a particular kind every month. I even mean just like thanking the holy water spirit when you're taking a shower, like soaping the body. There's a really simple ritual. You soap the body head to toe. Say, thank you, holy water spirit. I cleanse and purify myself at this time. Turn clockwise 3 times. Do it again. Soap the whole body. Thank you, holy water spirit. I cleanse and purify myself at this time. Thank you. Turn clockwise 3 times. Same thing. 3 times 3. The 9s. The cleansing and the purification is to then realign with why we chose to be here. And then when we align with why we chose to be here on behalf of the repair, restoration, remembrance of wholeness, a well-nourished society, a well-nourished consciousness, then there's this doorway of this idea of a divine directive, where we start to feel the process of co-shaping with these more than human forces. Of course, always benevolent. I always say benevolent. These cosmic forces, and these also elemental forces, and these forces of the natural world, that it's just like, wow, like the wind. I mean, how could we not be fascinated by the wind, ever? And then we start to feel into this almost like this deep communication and conversation, and then and instructions that start to move through us of how to fulfill our purpose on behalf of transformation, healing, and service. It's like we start to, and I know we all feel this. You start to hear these messages. You're like, wait, where'd that come from? Wait, did that come from me? Like, where's that message coming from? You like hear it, and you're like, wow. And then it's like this divine spark of like, aha, okay, got it. Then sometimes they come in these visions and we're like, well, wow, that's a big, is that my vision or is that not my vision? Like, what's my vision here? The cleansing, the purifying, the nourishment, the nectar, like as the consciousness of being a nectar to life and society and the world. How to be that, how to live that, how to exist like that, how to be an instrument for a sacred way of life always. And oftentimes these visions will come and we'll start to see it. Okay, is that my vision or is that somebody else's vision? Well, part of this is mine to tune to. And then we cleanse and purify. And then these instructions start to appear that are like, feel like they come from somewhere else, even though they're coming inside of us. And then oftentimes when the instruction is like right on point, the body like responds, like whether it's like heat or sometimes I get cold. Like if that a kind of instruction comes in that's like my signal, my body goes through like a tremble sometimes, like the trembling or the shiver or the heat or the like turning on, something turns on. And then all of a sudden we start to notice what's naturally coming into alignment because we're able to catch the wave of the instruction that's exactly related to what our purpose is to support the process of transformation and the lens and the permutation and the quality that we're meant to do it. And then everything is just like, we're like, okay, and then all of a sudden we're on the path where it becomes the way. Kumu said this to me once. He said, there's the path, and then there's the trailblazing. The path is usually a path that's been laid before us. So always attuning to the paths that have been laid before us. And the trailblazing is one where we're like machetes going through the jungle, making a new path. Whoa. Usually it's intense. I'm sure a lot of us are trailblazers. And then the way is when it becomes the existence of the what we're here to do. We just start to become the way, and then everything starts to move through us. Becomes less personal, but hyper personal in its less personal experience. Because it's like we tap into this interdependent web of relationships and consciousness. And then the multifaceted dual dynamic of mutual polishing becomes beyond humans and is like mutual polishing with the wind and mutual polishing with the fire and mutual polishing with the animal beings that are around us, mutual polishing with the soil, mutual polishing with the eclipse that just occurred, the mutual polishing of the moment of like a particular alignment in the cosmos. Our awareness is interdependently related to the cosmos and the natural world. And then we start to like attune to what the ancient Egyptians called magic, where so we don't do magic, Lama Milo Duquette. We don't do magic, we become magicians. So all acts become magical acts. So everything is moving through us in service and communion with the sacred always. Not to try to be anything or like try to like teach anything or whatever, just to be an instrument for it. It's like this kind of moment where like, wow, okay, I'm here. It is happening. Where the instrument becomes the vessel for creation to create with us and through us with elegance and grace and alignment. And then we start receiving instructions. And then we're like, use me, tell me, share, help me know, learn what to do. Please show me. And you hear this a lot, like in a lot of the biblical, God, show me. And this is like the divine starts to show us what we feel in our hearts, and we start to align with the divine will. Our will becomes aligned with the divine will. Then everything starts to move into alignment and everything starts to move. Then that grace comes pouring through. And then all of a sudden we're like moving like grace everywhere. And even when conflict or challenge arises, the quality of grace, like Mother Mary, the Marys, Mother Mary is like the one divinity that I know of that every culture and tradition loves and appreciates and receives and even could be protected under her. And like oftentimes when we think of Mother Mary, she's like crying, grace. We think of her as like the radiance and light of grace shining down upon us and through us. And then we're like, oh, the spirit, the holy feminine spirit, the light of grace start to like move through us. And all of a sudden we become an instrument for the consciousness of Mother Mary to move through us. These like golden light rays of healing start to travel through us everywhere and in everything. And it's like, everything's like in divine alignment. And then as we strengthen that natural way of ourselves, that's naturally who we are, through the purification and the cleansing and the deprogramming, the commitment to deprogramming more than anything. Any program that does not belong to us, that is not ours, that isn't where we come from, deprogramming all of that, sending it back to the light on behalf of the web of consciousness of nourishment, a culture, a society, a well-nourished society, a well-nourished species is the key to the future of all life. And in that way, we become the instrument for grace to move move through us, and we become a vehicle for grace in everything. We become like we're a part of reparations, restoration. We're a part of regeneration. Our life becomes good food and nourishment for death that creates more life again. We just become that. And then we're like, we just care more, we cry more, we grieve more, we like love more, we tend more, we show up more. And the ability to show up always in everything is there because every moment is that moment. It's not like a moment in an hour. Every moment is the moment. It's like all right here, right now. It's precious because like it's precious to be a spirit in a body, period. And then like to fully experience being a spirit in a body, every moment is so precious in its intensity, in its hardship, in its like challenge, in its grace, in its love, in its radiance, in its flourishing nature. We're like here for it fully. And we'll do anything we need to for our body temples to be able to be here for it, because the only thing that's certain is death, and we never know when death is going to come. But it's the only thing that's certain. Everything else is mystery. And there's this like commitment I'm always learning about to be here as a divine house, always. Why we have each other is to help each other with that, help each other polish. We're polishing agents for each other. And then as we like become polishing agents for each other, we then create in this one consciousness I like field that I love. We become a polishing jewel together that then becomes a polishing agent in consciousness. So the more that we radiate individually and polish each other, and then we create a field of energy that's a jewel itself, we become a polishing agent in consciousness. And that helps the mutual polishing of the web. The goal is like radiance in all directions, inside and outside, like the image of Mother Mary. It's like incredible. Her primary image, and like at least how I see her, is like these holy water spirit tears that are flowing with this like radiance of light and grace coming through her heart, shining down upon her. Like that's us, in the ancient Egyptian tradition. Every time the sun rises, there's this outpouring of the light that is information and instruction and support for life to grow. And then when we like take a moment to bathe in the light, we're supporting life moving forward because we're receiving information and instruction from this like massive body that we're like moving around on the earth, that is outpouring its light to support everything growing here. And then we become an instrument for the light from the cosmos to then be a steward for the light. Now, this is not like light as opposed to darkness in any way, shape, or form, because the other kind of light is called the luminous darkness, where we become an instrument for like when the sun sets, and the moon comes out, even if it's a dark moon, there's all this other stellar light, luminous light in the darkness that we're able to see when the sun sets, that is also the outpouring of light from the stars and the outpouring of light from the moon. It is information, instruction, like to help us attune, because the sun and the moon are the two primary celestial bodies that we are in relationship with all day, every day. And then when the moon comes out, then the stars are like with the night, the glimmer of the information from our star relationships happen at night. That's when we can see them, feel them. The ancient Egyptians are like it's like the outpouring of the light that is information that then we receive and learn from to help us be a steward for the emerald earth as humans. And so like this idea of like heaven on earth, or remembering heaven as earth, is being a pillar and an instrument and a vehicle for heavenly principles and earthly principles to move through us. We're like trees. You think about a tree, it's so beautiful. They like their arms are stretched out, the trees, and not all trees, but most trees, their arms are stretched out and they receive the outpouring of the light from the skies and from the cosmos. And it goes into this pillar and then into the legs, the root systems, and then the root systems are all connected under the soil with the mycelial network sending information everywhere. We're like that. We're trees. And if we think about that idea, even the tree, when the root systems of the trees, they are all connected underneath the soil and they're sending messages back and forth. Same for us. So what's invisible, like our commitment to caring for our thoughts and our mind, our heart, our body, our spirit, every day, all day, even in our sleep, because all the interdependent beings working for us to be a spirit and a body, that's sending messages to all the other trees that are our species all across this holy emerald earth. Like an act of a service to commit to a deeply nourished consciousness and way of life. Because a well-nourished community, village, society creates a culture and a life of nourishment that creates paradise again, or supports the proliferation of paradise, where the interdependent web of relationships of the natural world, the cosmic realm, and us as humans are all working together. And we're making Eden as what we do all the time on behalf of all life moving forward. Yeah, that's what I'm learning about.
Thank you. So much beauty, so much information, so much feeling. I feel so, there's so many moments when you're talking that there's different parts of me, like conscious and subconscious, that are like pinging and coming online. And again, this is great act of remembering that we're all doing together. And yeah, I actually just want to open it up first before I share. I wanted to share a moment, but I would love to hear if anybody has any thoughts, any questions, anything you'd like Isis to dive into deeper, or just any reflections based on what's been shared so far. You're welcome to unmute yourself or pop it in the chat. And my sister's here. Hola, Gabby, Gabriela. My sister up here. I'm like, I don't know. Can you see where I'm pointing right now? So many amazing nuggets to digest. Yes. So Isis, we've been talking again a lot about digestion and our ability to assimilate and, take in what is the most beneficial for our bodies, minds, and spirits in real time. And I just want to share that there was, a moment, there was a specific moment when you were talking again, so the nourishment of the beingness to support us to become a better channel. So again, if you know anything about Isis's work, she teaches us and helps us remember, again, especially as women, how to become these oracles, right? Or become the channel for the oracle, right? And in order to do that, to be able to receive helpful, beneficial, useful information through that expansion, first and foremost, being fully nourished ourselves, and then being able to be nourishment for others. There was earlier, I did a meditation, and part of it was about stoking our internal fire. And there was a sister that said, in the meditation, I was the queen of my womb. I was inviting them to be, visualize the queen of the room. She said I was in the fetal position and I couldn't get up to tend the fire. But Maria, you came in and you helped me tend that fire and brought me to tears. And just like, again, this is that being that food and that nourishment for each other when we're still in the sometimes when we're in that place where we just like, we are undernourished just by definition, right? But the more we can create that terrain of overflow, the more we can be, supporting others in the nourishment. And so anyhow, this ripple of consciousness of nourishment, I really struck me, the attunement to nourishment, the perspective of nourishment. There's another quote that I love, is from A Course in Miracles, that says, a miracle is simply a shift in perspective. And how amazing it seems so small and so benign and almost like we can't touch these things, right? Things like perspectives. But the moment that we can just angle a little over here, we're like, whoa. Again, the thing that we're looking at changes because the way we look at it changes, right? So what a possibility that we have to always be in this place of miracles, simply by shifting our perspectives. And again, this is why for me, counsel is so important and circles are so important, because somebody can see something just a different way, and help you see something. And so again, that polishing, you definitely brought in something that we've been talking a lot about, this internal kind of independent radiance, but you brought in that multifaceted jewel of, like, again, a consciousness of radiance and how we're always polishing each other. And this is again why I love you so much, as you help us take what sometimes feels like just a purely internal individual process and remind us how interconnected we are, and so how much what we're doing is creating these ripples for the whole, and keeping that orientation and desire to be really be of service, again, as our beautiful Cosmica was saying, be a queen who is devoted to service. So I just want to name all that and just mirror it back. And I'm going to read some of these deep feeling of Neith and Shipibo teachings coming through with the weavings of the tree of life. Beautiful. Yes, there's so many. Again, Isis and I have been talking about this, like Egypt and Peru, and these ways that these ancient indigenous teachings weave. It's so powerful. It's so powerful to remember, again, the way that all of our ancestors were communicating through the stars, right? Communicating telepathically. How we could go so deep down this rabbit hole, but how did so many different indigenous cultures were building structures that looked so similar, and yet there was no telephone, there was no internet. Like, how was everybody receiving the same messages, right? They were so open to the communication from the all that is, the great mystery God, goddess, and source, creator. I'm just going to read one more. I love the sentiment of us being diamonds tumbling together to polish and reflect little bits of consciousness that will light up a new facet of one another. Oh, so beautiful. Ah, thank you, sister. Thank you for bringing these just such important perspectives here. Again, like this is the what helps us remember our wholeness. We did a lot of work today, like in our bodies, in our sensuality, reconnecting to our erotic innocence, reclaiming our power as women, feeling safe to adorn ourselves and shine and remind the world to, honor and respect the beauty of Pachamama, through our beingness, like how much opportunity we have. And if we want to call it responsibility as women, to really reorient some of this very out of balance way that the world is working, right? With so much of this patriarchal energy and the disrespect of the feminine and of the earth, and just how that all really begins with us, because we as women have internalized so many of these principles, and we perpetuate them, we prop them up. I had a really hard conversation with a girlfriend the other day about, like, how are we propping up the patriarchy, right? How are we propping up these ways of being? What are the things that we do daily, how the ways that we think and the ways of being that contribute to this world that we're really clear isn't working anymore. And so the ability to descend internally and to spend a lot of time and attention on what's going on in our internal terrain, again, at the same time, to not lose focus on the fact that we are so interconnected. And so when I think of you, Isis, again, I think of the grandmother spider, of the attunement to that web, and how everything we do here, right, creates such a ripple. And it just brings us a greater level of awareness. Even me, I was just sharing that when I first came on the call, I had just received some intense personal news and I was crying, and my ego and my heart were like, I don't want this. And as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, this is mine to do, this karmic, there's somebody involved here, and Isis knows the situation, even though she doesn't know what I'm talking about, she also knows. There's a deeply karmic relation with this person, and this moment sometimes where we want to pass the buck. We want to pass the buck of karmic healing to somebody else, maybe to our children, again, without even really knowing it. When we say, no, I'm not available for the healing here, I'm not available for the reparations, and I'm not available for leaning in when we feel wronged, right? How many of us, when we're like, what, I feel so wronged, and I'm not available to lean in for healing, right? And every time we do that, my humble opinion, we're just passing that buck of healing on. We're saying, like, I don't have the capacity for this, which can be true. But again, so much of this work is to expand our capacity to be able to meet the really crunchy moments in life where we're like, we just want to run and hide, or we want to blame somebody else, or we want to be mad and create separation, and those are real experiences we have. At the same time, to be able to be like I am right now, feeling my heart, celebrating my heartbreak, girl. Feeling my heart breaking open, and I got fireworks. I love it. Celebrating my heart breaking open and feeling like not bypassing it by any means. Like, I'm very much being present with the sensations that I'm experiencing, and at the same time, instead of running and hiding from that or wanting to numb or suppress or bypass, like actually allowing myself to dive into the center of that heartbreak. Like, where is that pain coming from? Because so much of it is now, and like you used to say, and a million years ago, like, or 10,000 years ago, now, 10,000 years ago. Is it what's happening now? Is this karmic stuff from a million lifetimes ago? We just can't know. But what we have the opportunity is to meet what's happening right now. And so again, these tools of resilience, it's so funny because I literally shared in my writing yesterday about how we cannot control the storms, but we can learn to be in the eye of them. Right. And again, not just like clinging on for dear life, but actually expanding ourselves to meet life such that we can create the healing ripple that we are here to be. And again, these are the moments of creating change. These are the moments where we can say we want peace in the world, but if we're unwilling to meet the adversarial energies, right, and to actually humble ourselves to listen to somebody that, again, we have labeled as the wrong person, as the bad guy, as the perpetrator. Anyhow, this just takes me down so many important avenues here. And I just want to say thank you, Isis, for bringing all of this beautiful, juicy, sexy work we were doing today to like a real contribution point. I just wanted to read one more thing that was here. Thank you, Isis, for your work you are doing in the world. This is Rebecca, for the way you share what you're learning. I was touched by the reminder that some deep karmic relationships show up as dissonance, and leaning in deeper to what's there to be healed for our ancestors and our future descendants. And the reminder that ceremony can be as simple as honoring the holy waters as we bathe and shower. The turning 3 times is something I don't do, but I will carry into my next showers for sure. That's so beautiful. Thank you, Rebecca. And Rebecca has been there on the ground supporting with everything that happened after the fires in Hawaii. And we brought in our elder Kumu. And, there really is so much for us to learn from these Indigenous lineages of really showing up for each other. And oh, it's so deep. It's so deep. The healing that's available for all of us. So thank you, Rebecca, for your work that you do. I have so much respect and love for you, sister. All right, ladies. Well, it feels like a good moment to, again, I see we've got things burning and cleaning and clearing. I'm gonna also light my copal. We'll just do a quick cleanup. Yeah. A lot is being released and expressed, experienced, integrated, and I'm gonna say thank you so much, Isis. Again, Isis, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am in forever devotion to you, sister. Just am so honored to walk this path of life with you and be in the great mystery and the great unknown, but knowing that we have each other. I'm so grateful. Again, this to me, as I share often, is like this is the definition of sisterhood. And Jane Fonda posted something that was so really beautiful. She said, I exist because of my friendships with other women, you know, and I feel just like this great mystery is so much. Life can get so intense, but because I have my sisters, therefore, you know, I exist. I can be here with all of it. So thank you, my love. And on that note, we're going to start to pass the proverbial microphone. I've got my dear sister Alai here. Let's see, her internet has been a little spotty. Let's see how she's doing. She's here in Peru with me, just right down the road. And yes, Alai, I'll introduce again as wow, again, such a beautiful woman and one of my allies. Like when I need some nervous system regulation, you know, and some loving touch, I call her for Ayurvedic massage. And she's also been really supporting me with this opening of my voice, which is something that has been a lifelong journey to feel comfortable and confident and aligned with my voice. And so she's going to take us through a really beautiful harmonizing exercise, and she'll share more about it. But I feel like so beautiful after all this information we've received. And actually let me know if maybe before we pass, let me actually just acknowledge that we might need a little potty break because we've been sitting for about an hour and a half. Are you okay, Alive? We actually just, I'm seeing women pop off and I'm imagining that's because we're using the bathroom and getting water, I think. So let's take a 3-minute pause and we'll come right back for this beautiful voice activation with Alive. Thank you, sister.